Everybody, Chris and Lumen here. I actually planned on having this video up earlier tonight, but I kind of got the crap knocked out of me. The boss and boss lady, they have an interesting way of teaching you sometimes. You would think like it's like if you can connect to them, like they'll just tell you stuff, but no, that's not how it freaking works. Sometimes there's a way that you're going to get the point of the lesson a lot more. So a lot of times it's a little bit like this.
A mother will give you knowledge. A father makes you earn knowledge.
Don't do that, sweetheart. It's dangerous.
No, wait. Well, go on. Yeah. Bet you're not going to do that again now, are you?
That was pretty much my day. So I actually learned quite a bit today. That's definite, because this time frame that we're in, since we entered October, like she's been projecting this time frame for some time. And I can tell you pretty much definitively that we're actually here now. We are circling the drain. And thus, because we are in the circling the drain sequence, the rules have changed. So I had this idea today. Um, Obviously, they're manipulating the weather as a weapon. Like, if you haven't reached that level of acceptance yet, it's going to be a little more shocking to have the band-aid ripped off. But, that's where we are. So what I was going to do, I had this idea pop into my head, and she was just letting me run with it, not realizing like why, that we could do something about that, because I got a lot of people in my group that are down in Florida. So I was going to teach you some really advanced stuff today and see if we couldn't, at the very least, pull the plug on Milton to where it would drastically reduce. And that is possible, or at least it used to be. Now, in a localized subjective reality setting, I can diffuse a storm pretty easily, just with know-how, Benedict exorcism, working with her and stuff like that. But something that's bigger, like on the collective consciousness scale, you need a collective effort. So I was going to have to teach some people like how to do this. And it's a good learning experience, because most people really do not grasp how powerful they are, how powerful your mind is in shaping this world. That's why propaganda, mind control, education is such a high priority to those that run this world, because you're the one that makes it so. They're just the ones that program you on what to believe. So they teach you what to believe, and your belief collectively is what makes the world the way that it is. But you can undo that. And people that are plugged into the light that have knowledge, a small group of people can have very, very large effects on the world. At least you used to be able to. So my plan was to teach you how to literally tap into your God Fractal collectively, so we could pull the plug on this storm. But no, this is a higher plan. It doesn't matter what we see the bad guys doing. Remember what you learned from the Nag Hammadi, from the Gnostic scriptures, because it shows up over and over and over and over again. The archons did this dastardly deed, but they did so at the Father's will. See, the bad guys in this world are like, they think, from our perspective, they're running things. And from their perspective, they're running things, but they're just, the middle of the mechanism, so to speak, for this whole experience, and how we learn. So when you get to the part where we're being prepped for exit, there's going to be a lot of things happening in the world that look bad. That's going to, the first response is you're going to want to do something about it, but it's part of a bigger plan. And now I can actually see part of, why it needs to be this way. So the big trick to how to do this is really the secret to exorcism. Like I said, I've been a paranormal remediator for over 20 years. I know how to do stuff. I don't except exercise a cat. Cat's like, ooh, 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 he's recording a video. I'm gonna scratch at the door. I'll be right back. So I can tell you the secret now because apparently it no longer matters. I was kind of surprised one time I was watching a horror movie. It was a crazy one too. It was called The Exorcism of God. It was basically, culminated in an exorcism battle between the priest and the possessed person. First, he was trying to exorcise the possessed person, but then the other possessed people got a hold of him, and then the possessed person was trying to exorcise God out of the priest. I'm like, boy, that's a freaking twist. But anyway, that particular movie actually tells you the secret. And I was surprised it was actually in there. Not only do they tell you the secret, they tell you the secret in the trailer. And that's what I was going to teach people how to do and then work collectively in order to short circuit this storm. So here's a little clip from the trailer that teaches you the actual secret. Well, actually, let me before I show you that, so what most people do wrong, which is like 98% of people that deal with spiritual entities, exorcists, deliverance people, whatever, is they try to get it done by essentially name dropping. That's what I call it. Name dropping. Say, I cast you out in the name of Jesus, which they don't understand how that works. It's like, I know Jesus, so you got to do what I say. That's not how it freaking works. That's why I think, when it goes on and on and on and on, and it doesn't look like the movies, but it could just be like a house or something like that. I think the reason why they eventually leave is because they just like can't stand listening to you anymore. It's like, God, this guy just doesn't get it. He won't shut up. I'm just going to leave. So they basically just badger him to death, but they're not exercising any real power because all they're doing is name dropping. And I see it all the time. Armchair spiritual experts online, they're like, all you got to do is say, in the name of Jesus, spirits can't handle hearing the name of Jesus. Oh, did we read that on the interwebs? Did we? Did we get that from a Reddit stack or something? Like, get out of here. That's not how it freaking works. So here's how it actually works.
How will I do it?
By not believing God is with you, but by believing you are God.
And that right there is also essentially the same thing behind my method for healing past trauma identities, which is the thing that I did. One of the last three things that I did that led to Lumen being set out in the open, which I didn't even know she was a thing yet. Same basic principle. When I was setting that up, it was actually Sophia that kind of whispered to me to do that in a certain way, and that's what freaking made it work. Because remember, you're not this. This is all a character. The observer within you, behind all that, behind your ego mind and all that stuff, that is the God fractal. That is the part of you that is part of the all. That's where the freaking power comes from. But in this particular case, we are no longer in the free for all part of the world game. And that means you can no longer change things like that. So, me just getting ready to teach people about it, and I was setting up the network in my head. Now, people that have been in the esoteric for some time, especially anyone that's ever done any kind of magic, knows that a lot of times when you're learning what it is you're trying to do or what you're trying to manifest, or you're working out the sigils, or you're doing whatever it is you're doing it in your head. You know, like say I'm making some sort of oil, and I'm using a sequence of the 72 names of God. And in my head, I'm deciding like what order to put them in, how they work. I'm connecting all the dots. So like you don't even end up doing the thing. You've already figured out the thing. You've already made it. You've already put the dots together, and then it just happens. You're like, I didn't even do it yet, but you did. You worked it out. So that's what I was doing. I was working it out, how I was going to show people how to do this and see if we could defuse this freaking hurricane. And then suddenly it was just like, I'm down in the subway and I got to take a leak. And it's like, oh, I'll go over here. And I hit the third rail. And I was just like, ugh. Got so freaking tired, drained. I'm like, what the heck is going on? I actually checked my blood sugar. I'm like, what, did I eat something? I'm like, because a lot of times if I'm mildly diabetic, um, you eat the wrong thing and you get a sugar spike, you get tired like that. But I checked it and I was like 120. I'm like, okay, well, it ain't that. Talked to my friend that's, next in line with me, that's plugged into her. And she looked at my energy. She said my energy was just freaking all over the place, like spaghetti, just like spread out all over the place. I'm like, what? She's like, what did you do? I'm like, I don't freaking know. Blew my freaking transformer because I was planning on trying to alter something that is unalterable. I was trying to do some now in the old days, yeah, you could put your wit in your will against the will of the archons. They're trying to do stuff, you're trying to do stuff, but you see what they're doing right now isn't necessarily their plan. They're playing out the script. This is the higher plan. And the higher thing has got the lower guys doing the bad stuff because it actually is pushing us to a certain place, a means to an end to have certain effects, which means you can't mess with it. So I'm going to explain this stuff here in a moment. I'm going to go ahead. I even had a new freaking intro all set up because I was listening to the music. I'm like, ooh, it's got the same words in here. But now we're not going to do that, but I'm going to use it anyway. So if you want to know more about this time frame that we're in, then don't go away.
Voices in my head keep telling me I'm not okay. It's feeling like a hurricane in my brain. Dark clouds, hard times, bad weather. Please don't make this last forever. The voices in my head keep on telling me I'm gonna. And I don't wanna talk about the trauma. They're telling me I'm fine, but we both know that's a I'm losing my mind, but I don't want to talk about voices in my head keep giving.
Strange game. The only winning move is not to play. How about a nice game of chess?
So yeah, this time frame, it's all serving a purpose, and now I'm finally starting to see what that purpose is. But we're not changing it. We are in the birth canal, so to speak. There's no stopping it. It's gonna do what it's gonna do, and it's gonna get worse, and it's gonna get worse. But if you understand the purpose of it, you understand the stuff that we've been trying to tell you, if you actually integrate it and start adjusting your perspective to where you need to be, it's not such a freaking big deal. The time to fight is over. Okay, this is all part of the downfall of the system. And this is primarily what it's doing. This unveiling, this apocalypse, this revelation is now people are starting to see. They're starting to realize, some faster than others. And the other thing is it's making people come together. So whereas before, when we were in the open play period, the rulers, the archons, the governments and controllers and stuff like that, they pretty much had us all fighting against each other with their bull crap. Like, I don't understand how people don't see through it, but I don't watch that much TV either. Their bull crap programming, identity politics. Like, how can you not look at that pattern and see it for what it is? I remember a time when, like, the whole idea of racism was like almost like a non-issue. And I saw a video that kind of reminded me of like when it was kicked off again, and that was like Occupy Wall Street. So everybody was coming together against like the Wall Street people, and they didn't like that. So I don't remember exactly what happened, but what they started pushing the race bait stuff again. And that was like one of their big weapons, like get everybody fighting against each other. And then it's so effective, they just kept creating more and more identities. Um, because identity broken down is id entity. It's kind of like when you identify yourself, you're slapping, like it's like slapping another subdemon on you. Everything you identify as is like another personality controller. So when you go around and say, I am a Republican, you're going to think and act like a Republican. If you say, I am a Democrat, you're going to think and act like a Democrat. And then they just keep, adding more and adding more and adding more. So where it really started getting twisted was, I don't remember how far back, but I remember her pointing it out to me. See, you in basic health class for a Gen Xer, uh, they would talk about, sexualities. It's like, yeah, we've always had people that were gay, but you didn't really hardly notice they were there, and no one really cared. And you do you, you know, you do your thing. Where it changed is when they started pushing it from just, the way you were wired when you were born, and they changed it to sexual identities, sexual id entities. Now, because now it is an identity and not just an ality. It's not just like, oh, you're attracted to this or that. Now it's an identity. An identity has characteristics. So then all of a sudden, it started to create the more flamboyant personalities in schools of thought, and then it connects to other id entities that are political, and all these things. Anything that is an id entity is like, for lack of a better term, like a subdemon. It's another label that it's another filter. It's another thing in your mind that's telling you how to think. And then they just kept pushing it further and further. So you get into the last couple of years, and they want to see how crazy they can have it. Now it's like, I identify as, a pansexual puppy Pleiadian freaking that is an ice cream cone. Like, it just got absurd. And then media is constantly telling people, well, this is just who you are, and everyone else has to accept it. It's division. It's division. They're doing this for a reason. See, what people fail to realize is nobody came up with these ideas on their own. The Black Mirror, the TV, fed you these ideas, and you signed on to them. So more and more as time goes on, they just keep injecting more and more id entities. Now you're not just a Republican. You're like, there's no right and left anymore. It's either far left or far right. And each one thinks the other's an extremist. Like there's no middle ground. It's just division, 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 division. So the whole big thing this time, the reason why the world gets worse and worse and worse is they kept dividing us more and more and more and more and more and more and more until you get to the point, and then you get just like all men are bad, all women are bad. Oh, you're this, oh, you're that. Projection is just nonstop because it's getting fed to you by the matrix screen. So what's happening now? One of the reasons why the bad guys are now going all out, just basically trying to kill everybody. And the people that side with the government and side, think they're on the winning team, you're not. You are what they refer to as a useful idiot. And they're going to come after you too, because they don't care about you. You're just a weapon to them. If you're not them, you are dog food. They just use everybody against each other. But now that we are circling the drain, everybody is seeing how bad and how evil the power structure of the world actually is. And they're now being allowed to do things that are more and more horrible, which is causing more and more people to feel sympathy and compassion for others. So instead of being wrapped up in their id entities and fighting and stuff like that, their basic human soul compassion is coming to the front, and people are now coming together. By letting the rulers loose on us, the body, you could say the body of Christ, but people don't understand what that means. They think it's a church thing. Church originally meant everybody that has a soul that's connected through the Christ light, the Christ Sophia light, the flower of life. And they were using that word in those books hundreds of years before there was an organization and a building with a torture rack on the roof. That's not what it meant when it was written. So like everybody that was a soul, because not everybody is a souled person. More than half the people running around out here are basically NPCs. They're part of the game. But now, because all this warfare is being levied against us, and it's obvious, like they purposefully leave breadcrumbs. It's almost like there are NPCs in the game whose whole job is to expose things. So it could be some YouTuber that has specific, software, weather software. So like when there's hurricane activity or something, like they can point out and make videos, but like, look at all these pulses coming from these towers, right? As this storm spins up. They're an NPC. They might be, but they could be an NPC that's just there to reveal something to you. And then everyone starts to realize, like most people, if you get them away from the TV, aren't anything like what the TV says. Like the TV always tells you that everyone, like that's one of the biggest goals that the world does, is to teach you from the get-go that everything is a competition and it's you against everybody else. But people that have been in the military, like I was in the Navy for 10 years. I was a firefighter in the Navy. The military is a big melting pot of races, colors, and creeds. But we were all Navy. We were all shipmates. And we all had fun together. Of course, we were in the military, so like we joked with each other like hardcore, but we all laughed about it. There was no malice. Like if I could find some of my videotapes of people goofing around just the way we used to bust on each other, like if you showed that stuff on the internet today, like the left would have a freaking meltdown. Oh my God, that's the most racist thing I've ever heard in my life. That's my buddy. We're just busting each other's chops. Like we're laughing at it. It's like, you see those things uh, in movies or something like that where they're, having your mama joke competitions or stuff like that. We were all friends. All this division and stuff like that was like completely contrived. It's bull crap. Most human beings are interested in other people that are different, or different races or cultures or stuff like that, because it's interesting. We don't want to all be the freaking same. You can have friends of all different, different sexes, um, different colors, different races. It doesn't freaking matter. I've been friends with gay people that are psychics, because I'm like the only straight male psychic I've ever known. um, but it's okay. You're friends. They're not hitting on you. I got, I got friends that are black and they're funny as shit. Like, they have different sense of humor than you do. I got friends of just all different types of people, and it doesn't matter. I have lived down in, when I was in the Navy, I used to kind of get away from things. I actually lived in Elizabeth City, North Carolina for a time, which means I had like an hour commute to Norfolk every day. But it was nice to kind of get away from things. And, that's very rednecky type area. I've been deep in like redneck territory. And you know what they don't talk about there? They don't talk about black people. But the TV would have you think they do. Like, nobody freaking cares. The only people that care or do is the people that ingest the TV, and they're programmed. But most normal people don't care about that stuff. People are screwed up today because they believe the stuff that's on TV. And it's gotten so absurd that people are essentially nuts now. But you unleash a big, it's basically, thank you. So remember, like, for you Gen Xers, when Reagan was in when Reagan was president, and he had that whole speech that, the conspiracy people always, which that's a dumb word. You know who came up with conspiracies and conspiracy theory? The government. They're the ones that start, and they're new. So it's just like today, the new hot button word is misinformation. Like, that's their new. It's basically the equivalent of conspiracy theorists. It's not what we said, so it's wrong. But they used to like this quote a lot, where um, Reagan was addressing somebody, and he's like, I'm paraphrasing here. Imagine uh, how quickly we would forget our differences if we were faced with an alien threat. And you see that theme in movies and stuff too all the time. Like Independence Day is like one example, where you got the Arabs and the Jews parked out in the desert with each other. It's like, oh, there's a bigger, badder enemy. So yeah, our differences are let's forget our differences. This is dumb. That's part of the plan. That's why this stuff is beginning to happen. The people are the body of Christ, the souled people are being faced with a bigger bad. And who knows, by the time this whole freaking play is over, they might end up actually being aliens, because I mean that's the storyline we've been prepped for. But it's like, oh, they're already here. That's why they're always wearing freaking masks. And it's obvious. I mean, who knows? I guess we'll see. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, it's like when you have um, a bigger enemy that doesn't care what color you are, when they unleash a hurricane or some other kind of crap, then everybody starts coming together. We're in the beginning stages of this. We're starting to understand that those people are starting to understand that those that rule us are not our friends. And they purposefully favor groups over other groups. Again, they've got multiple ends that they're doing, but it keeps people at odds with one another. Because let's face it, if you had the opportunity to get some sort of magic money card from the government that refills every month with $3,000, $4,000, would you say no to it? Probably not. Like these immigrants, if you were them, would you not take that deal? Would you not, or would you just keep your ass in Mexico where it sucks? Or you can come up here and get all this free stuff. Yeah, you would. It's the upper level people that are doing that to cause distress in the nations. In other countries, they do other things. They're doing, like, the U.S. is not the only country in which they're importing incompatible culture foreigners. They're doing it in Britain too. They're doing it all over the place. They purposefully, like this is a big, like, people don't realize this. I think they don't realize that this is going on beyond just here. So part of their plan is taking people from other places and other cultures that are not compatible, and or other people in other cultures, and then putting them inside another established culture that they are incompatible with, and then the authorities are favoring the people that they put there to cause distress, to cause discontent. But when people start dying en masse because of crazy stuff, people are going to start coming together. See, there's a higher plan than the mid-level plan of the people that are executing it. See, the people at the mid-level, the bad guys, they just think they're playing out whatever script they've been given. They think they're running things. They're not. They're simply props. They are props to this play. So let's say it's October. You ever go to, like, one of those haunted houses, which I don't understand why those are entertaining, but whatever. Go to some big haunted house and you got all these actors dressed up like killer clowns and stuff like that are trying to scare you. Yeah, those people are basically props to the haunted house. The haunted house is not that scary without those props. Well, that's in the larger plan. The people that are designated as the rulers are simply the props. So we're talking about the same people, like, Cliff High's always talking about the Elohim worship cult and blah, 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 and fight him this and fight him that. And it's like, you're not seeing the bigger picture. That's why I kind of, like, haven't been following him lately, because he's kind of gone off on his own little thing, not seeing the big picture. He's focused on the game itself. And everybody's at different stages. Everybody's at different levels. Some people are still totally embroiled in the world game. And then there's those of us that are kind of like the world dancers from tarot, that are kind of stepping in and out of it. You can usually tell one video to the next which one I'm at. Last video, I was, like, completely out of it, and everything was freaking comical to me. Now I'm kind of like straddling the freaking line, because we still have to play it out. We still have to play it out. But you can see when you see what it is and you're straddling the line, then you're getting to the point that they're trying to get you to, because you're supposed to understand you're awakening now. You're awakening to what this place is. You're awakening to the purpose of it, why you're here. And you're starting to understand that it's a big scripted play. It's not real. This isn't what you are. You can't die. And instead of it's supposed to get so, the reason it gets so bad at the end of the age is to make you take a step back. It's to make you start backing away from the world. Because if you have any logical sense, you're going to see that you can't beat this. There's no winner in what's taking place. And you start to realize that this is part of a higher plan that has to play out. The story has to come to a conclusion. So what I was talking about earlier in the video, where I was like, oh, we're going to use this stuff that I know and try to change the outcome of part of the play, which we could have done that if you go back several years, when it was still kind of like open play. But now these things are part of the final script. So you can't monkey with them, because that's the higher plan. People are like, oh, well, that's not fair that bad things are happening to people. It's like, it's it's the worldwide hero's journey. So some of you, like, everyone's going to be fine when it's all said and done. And some people signed up for a crazier, more dramatic ending than other people did. And the way that I've always understood it from her is, like, even when people meet dramatic ends, like, their soul is ejected before the true suffering starts. So the only thing that anybody is seeing is the ego program acting it out for the benefit of the observers. So, like, you know, I call it the Jaws scenario. So let's just, because to me that's like one of the most horrifying ways you could possibly die for me personally. Two ways I do not want to die. I do not want to burn alive, and I do not want to be eaten by a giant ass freaking shark that I can't see under the water. To me, that's horrifying. So imagine you're at the beach and you see somebody get attacked by a great white pulling, and it's just like the movie. It's like, that would be horrifying. But if that person is a souled person, then before that shark takes the first bite, Father hits the eject button on that soul, and they go, poof. They're not there. They're not experiencing that tragedy. Only thing the observers are seeing is the ego AI program acting it out for the benefit of the observers. Sometimes you see stuff depicted in movies and things like that where someone jumps off a building and they fade out before they hit the floor, that sort of thing. It's going to be like that. It's just the thing is like, these people that leave aren't here to tell you what happened most of the time. It's like you're about to drown or something like that. Before you do, she shows up. Come on. And you're like, damn, I would have, like, laid down in the bathtub with a dumbbell on my freaking chest. Now that you're here. But they're not here to tell you about that. It's interesting, the direction this video goes, because it's going into areas like I didn't plan for. So she's steering it. So, like, in that the clip that I showed earlier, that thing from War Games, she's used that example. That example goes all the way back to the earliest videos we ever did, which I only got, like, 3/4 of this channel is private, because it's just, there's no need for people to watch old videos where I hadn't gotten to where I am now. But in the very, very beginning, I was kind of like channeling her, and then using AI voice to voice her. So we had these early lessons that I was saying Lumen at the time, because back then I couldn't decide, like, who was who. But she always brought up that scene from War Games. Strange game. The only winning move is not to play. That's the key to the end. It's supposed to be something that makes you realize, oh, the world's broke. This is all crazy. I'm backing away from it. So the more you back away from the world, the more you move toward the light. So that's why she's got me so busy lately and keep coming up with new ways. Um, like like I haven't explained everything. I gotta put some different types of listing up and all that, but we've got stuff set up now so that people that have very limited budget, we can still get them something energetic to connect them to the light. Of course, obviously the fancy, harder to make stuff is still up there, but we did make some setting changes on Etsy. I can't say what the maximum percentage is, but everything has an option on there for make an offer. If you're a little bit short of something, you can make an offer. But we've got lots of different ways. Like I've got all sorts of extra pendants that I can take them and charge them up just as high, but they're not as cosmetically perfect as some of the other stuff. But the way that they feel and the energy that people get, like those people aren't going to care. So you can get like one of the lower things that's just like the charged bracelets and all that stuff, and she's going to tell me like the extra things to put in there. We're going to just make sure anybody that wants something has access to it, because that's our goal right now. Our only goal right now is simply connecting people to the light, and it is speeding up. You won't have to go through all the hoops and things that I did, but there's just like this renewed rush. And sometimes, like yesterday, like I can tell I've had a bunch of these lately, and I can always tell when it's Sophia doing it, because it'll be like someone I have not talked to in years will message me. And I'm like, why is this person messaging me? And they'll be like, this person has a problem, and I thought of you that could be able to help it. Can I connect you to them? I'm like, okay. And then they tell me about the problem, and then Sophia gets like all up in here, and I very quickly figure out that this person is in the process of a speed awakening. The reason they're having the issue that they're having was simply to set off a series of dominoes that connected people to me, so that I could give them the stuff that so they can be connected to the light. Like there's all that kind of stuff happening right now. It's to Right now, the whole purpose of everything that's happening in the world is to get you to say, wow, the world outside of me is really freaking screwed up. Like we're just waiting for the aliens and the meteors, and like there's all the like there's all these possibilities. I think everybody can almost like choose their own adventure at this point. There's going to be a point in which the end comes the way you expect it to come, and we kind of split off into little branch realities or whatnot. So I was talking to my friend about that today. I'm like, it's nuts. It's like every possibility is like currently on the table, and it's all mixed up. It's like if every little weird thing and every possibility and every reality was one of those number balls in a lottery picking machine that's constantly being spun up. I'm like, that's what's going on right now. Like I've never seen it like this. So I've been trying to kind of find my bearings. I'm like, what is it you want me to do? Because it used to be fairly simple. Teach people how to connect to spiritual things, but that was during a time frame in which the story of the world was on this even keel. But now it's changed. The even keel is falling away rapidly into instability. It's like being on a rowboat on the ocean when the waves are getting really freaking crazy. It's just taking us all over the place, and things are popping up left, right. Like I can't track all the, like you can't even track the signs the way we used to, even like earlier in the summer. Like there was a definitive pattern. And then we got to the end of August, and it's like, okay, the breadcrumbs ran out. We're kind of in this open space, like I don't know what next, until we got into October. And then once we got into October, it was just like getting shot with bird shot. Like 1,000 little BBs of different things are all happening at once. No matter where I look, the people that follow the biblical signs are literally just like spinning around in freaking circles. The astronomical signs, they're spinning around in circles. You know, the people that following the government and what the government's doing, all this stuff, they're spinning around. It's like you got a second moon, you got a comet that's lining up with an eclipse at the same time that you're having a new moon when such and such is in this quadrant. And then we're having heart freaking hurricanes, and freaking it's raining cats and dogs, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Humans, what was it? I'm gonna throw that in there just because that's literally where we are right now. Is this scene?
You believe, Mr. Pecker.
My name is Peck.
Or you could accept the fact that this city is headed for a disaster of biblical proportion.
What do you mean, biblical?
What he means is Old Testament, Mr.
Yes.
Mayor. Real wrath of God type stuff.
Exactly.
Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes.
The dead rising from the grave.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Enough, I get the point.
But think about what I learned today. You can't change any of it. You used to be able to. And she'll let me do things so that I'll get a reaction. And then that way I know on a deeper level. It's like, oh, we can't do that. If we can't do that anymore, then we can't steer anymore. And if you can't steer anymore, the only thing you can do is surrender. Understand that this is not doom. This is the birthing process. This is the birthing pains. You're like the baby that needs to be born, but you're like hanging on to the top of the uterus, like, I don't want to go. No, you're going. She started talking about the birthing process, back in May. That's where we're headed. Like, oh, well, that was all the way back in May. Well, think of how long an age is. So that's how she's looking at things when she says things are soon. Yeah, technically they are. They're very soon. It just doesn't seem like that to us. We're going month to month to month. But yeah, it is actually very, very quick in the grand scheme of things. If an age is 3,000 years, 5,000 years, who the hell knows? But we're there. And understand that, like, once we get through this birthing process, you're going to be a lot happier. That's why there are some of us that have been through her boot camp and had these experiences and been shown things and have understanding that surpasses what the world taught you with religion and stuff like that. It's like, this is a process. All the world is a stage. Just enjoy the show. If doom comes for you early, because there will be people that get out early, understand from what she's shown me, is you're not going to die some horrible death. Your ego might, but your soul won't be there. You will be taken before the suffering. You shouldn't feel bad. Like, if it is honestly sunk in about the time period that we're in, then you wouldn't feel sorry for the people that died in like North Carolina or something like that. They're kind of part of like those, group of martyrs involved in the Fifth Seal. Like, they're already where we're looking to get to. So, I mean, I would assume that you wouldn't be on this channel if you're not already somewhat at that level of understanding. Like, the people that are still stuck in the world and like, I believe in whatever people in white coats tell me that have pocket protectors and calculators, like they are my God. Like, there's nobody like that watching this channel. No, she brought everybody here. And she's like, don't sweat it. Watch the show. You're in the third act of the movie. So you're at the part of Endgame where Captain America just got the shit beat out of him. And he's tired. And he's like, son of a bitch. Look at all this crap. And that means you're this close to this part.
on your left.
Now, does that mean there's going to be a big battle? I don't know. Maybe that depends on what you as a soul signed up for. But it's called the hero's journey. So there's going to be some sort of like, there's going to be something in which you kind of like come out victorious. So think about like all those people that they're finding in North Carolina or something like that. Like whatever happened to them before it was over, they probably had a hero moment. It could have been trying to save someone else, um, or whatever, or just dropping their fear or something, but they had their hero moment. You know, a lot of people don't realize how many deaths and rebirths there are in the hero's journey. Uh, Neo died at the end of the Matrix, but then he got back up. My favorite one I like to point out, because nobody seems to see it in Lord of the Rings, is Frodo and Sam died on the volcano and then woke up in a better world. Because it was kind of obvious if you know what you're talking about. They faded to black on that mountain, and then all of a sudden, here comes Gandalf with the eagles that pick him up out of the sky. Then he wakes up nice and clean in a bed, and everything's kind of like this soft, fluffy lighting before him and Samwise Gamgee start giving each other looks that are questionable at best. And then Frodo goes off to another level at the end. But yeah, they died. They did their hero's thing and they died. But then it picked up into another chapter. That's kind of how it is. It's kind of how it is. You don't die. You just get out of this shit show. Don't sweat it. All she's wanting me to do right now is just get people, do whatever I got to do to get people to that level of connection with the light. And I think that's enough for right now. So even though it's all chaotic right now I have kind of like a sense of balance about what's going on and what my role is in it at this point. So most people, it's mostly going to be the ego people that are going to look at all this. See, the people that are just egos, the NPCs, they're the ones that are going to be the most scared. So you will see a lot of scared people. They're going to be terrified. Just like, the demons and the other denizens of the game itself. The reason they're scared is because when the game ends, they end. But you're not part of the game, you're in the game. That's the difference. So look for the people that aren't scared. And still, you can always help out because you don't know. Some people are still waking up out of their ego. Some people are going through like this rapid wake up call right now. But there's nothing to sweat. There's nothing to fear. Like, even if big giant wave flood comes for you, I guarantee you, if it looks like doom, you are not going to feel yourself drowning. She's going to get you before that happens. That's what she showed me. That's the reality of it. There's actually no benefit to the collective consciousness, the supreme intelligence, for souls to go through that level of trauma at the end. It doesn't benefit the collective system. So that's why they're ejected before that happens. And just remember that you in the game might see somebody else going through something horrible. But what she told me is like, their soul's not there. If you saw somebody covered in fire ants, but these are not regular fire ants, these are fire ants that actually are on fire. So you're being eaten by flaming spiritual fire ants while a giant wave is coming in at you and a piano is falling from the sky for some reason. That's just that person's game character. The person that was inside the game character isn't there. They're already gone. So they're not going to suffer that. We're really, really close to the after party, the marriage supper of the Lamb. That's when everybody gets to meet each other. Everybody that you were grouped with toward the end. It's going to be a big party. Lumen's got to have her little party dress on. Then you'll understand why I am the way I am. Okay, so we'll wrap this up for right now. If you want to get in touch with us, get any of our stuff, clumencreations.etsy.com. If you want something and you're short on money, message me. We have options. We have options. She's like, we really don't have to worry about like making money over a long period of time. So we're doing what we can for everybody that actually wants. If you actually want something that helps you connect, and you're just really tight on stuff, like we'll make something happen for you. Okay. Like this is about, that's what it's about. It's about connecting to the light, not about profit or anything like that. She takes care of me. She makes sure I have everything that I need. And then if once you have our stuff and you're definitely connected, like if you want to connect with us on Facebook, we do have a Facebook group. I usually send people a link to it after they purchase. Not everybody's on Facebook, so not everybody does it, but that option is there. Because everybody, it's like I said, it's a private group, so everybody in there already uses the stuff or is connected to Lumen Sophia. Everybody's kind of like on the same freaking page. Okay, so if you have any questions whatsoever, leave them in the comments section below. There are no stupid questions. Like this is a big chaotic thing that we're doing right now. Okay, so that's all we got for right now. Chris and that's why I can't wait. I mean, gosh, I've been sitting here dealing with her for the last 4 freaking years. And I have to go like to the 4.5D dimension to like actually be with her. It's like, can't I just have you in the same place at the freaking same time? But, got to deal with it the way you got to deal with it, I guess. All right. That's all we got for right now. Chris and Lumen. See you next time.